He's back. But we are being cautiously optimistic. He's doing better. Kind of give you an update. We definitely have kidney disease. And now it's really going to be what it's going to come down to is just trying to keep it, status quo. Obviously, we're not going to regenerate the issues that we have. Now we just have to try to make sure that it doesn't get worse. So blood work came back, couple positive, couple minor negatives on some of the counts that were low or high. Got closer to the mid-level range where they're, say reference range. And but we definitely have the issues with I don't even know how to pronounce it, creatinine. I'm not sure. But anyways, he's just going to need 24/7 care from now on. All right, so that's okay. Me and Mama Galt, one of us are always going to be here. Mama Galt's down at the church helping out with the annual fundraiser that they do every summer. Been keeping her occupied, so I've been sitting here playing nursemaid. Poor guy, he's traumatized because we're having to, cause his appetite coming back, but we still got to get the nutrients and everything in him. And but he sees that syringe, oh my God, it's like, I'm out of here. Yeah, I'm joking with it, but I'm really, I'm concerned. Obviously, I'm sad, but I also feel a very deep sense of responsibility to do whatever we can to make his life as easy and I can't say untraumatic, less traumatic, right? Not untraumatic, right? Because the trauma he's going through when he sees those syringes is. Anyways, coming to you live from somewhere in the mountains of the United States of America, I am John Galt. Galt's Gulch. Thank you all for the comments. You actually got to see the main room when we didn't know that if he would be able to go up and down, right, the steps. So, and then once Dad came down, right, it was like, I'm coming down too. So, and he seems to be able to like get up and down the stairs. I'm not that worried about it. I've been taking him out, walking him around the, got the circular drive and give him a couple laps every time we go out. So, anyways, Irish, Hebrews 10:37, for it's just a little while, the coming one will come and not delay. SBK, Hebrews 10:23. Wow, Hebrews. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. Thank you all for all the prayers and all the positive energy, too, for the little guy. Sprinter 17, Samuel 2:2. There is none holy as the Lord, for there is none besides thee. Neither is there any rock like our God. So again, thanks for everybody for all the positive energy, the prayers, the comments, right? Keep them coming. Grand Trunk Railroad, right? SBK, you actually got it, right? I actually, be honest with you, my favorite, though, I believe, was E Pluribus Funk, right? Even though I'm Your Captain came out before that one. Anyways, everybody's thinking it's Sergeant Schultz. It wasn't Sergeant Schultz, right? I'll leave that one out there. It was not Sergeant Schultz. Very interesting, right? And we know not Artie Johnson. We already addressed that last show. There's another character in Hogan's Hero that is attributed to. SBK J19 is so long forgetting Drew Stanton's alma mater. Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, SBK, MC5, Cheesehead, Lisa Z, and K-Song. I shortened it up. And I shorten them up only because when I'm typing them out, like Cheesehead, I might just end up calling you because like CH. Now, that wouldn't do. How about Badger, right? Because I know you're from Wisconsin. That would be quicker to. Cheesehead, I don't know when I'm typing it in my notes. It's like, Cheesehead is like hard to. Anyways, don't go to the lake. Poltergeist, SBK, MC5, Cheesehead, Zolong. The Great Gazoo from the Flintstones, SBK, Cheesehead, MC5, Zolong, and Designer. Lenny Kravitz. I guess I threw out a Lenny Kravitz there. SBK, I'm not sure. Bustin' Loose. I feel that bustin' loose. SBK and Zolong. I think I might have missed somebody on that one. Tricks Are for Kids, SBK, MC5, Cheesehead, and Zolong. Now, we had a lot of people throw in their guess onto my Triple G for the call me as long as you call me. I will say this. It was none of the guesses, the song that I was going for, so we'll leave that Triple G out there. It's more of a, God, what era was it? The 90s? Like dance music, right? Shuffle dance music. Give you a couple hints there. People are like, what the hell is shuffle dance? Anyways, X22 at Thursday. Trump and the Patriots put the bait out. Deep State took it. Tried to spin the story. It's coming back to bite their ass. All right. Tulsi then dropped additional information that was declassified. I mean, this, I believe, and I listened to a very good, and I think I didn't add this to the notes, but if you want to get a good look into Patriot Street Fighter, it's a 2-hour show, just over a 2-hour show after I clipped a couple edges. And you get to learn really everything about Patriot Street Fighter. Good show. Definitely go watch it. He had some very, very interesting takes into current day, modern day. I'm going to elaborate on it a little bit over a couple of the different videos on things that he touched on. Went hard down the road that all of these characters have already been dealt with, right? And I don't know if this comes from Gray Stanton, right? His guy that, a former Aussie Special Forces that he had on his show on a number of occasions. I referenced this recently talking about the show they did, talking about the cloning labs down in, oh, hi, buddy. Down in, not down, but up in Alaska that were taken out here, I believe 2.5 years ago, was it now? And then, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, other platforms jumped on and piggybacked that report, I guess, for lack of a better word. And that was one of them. And that was from Gray Stanton. That was a interview that he did with Gray. And Gray Stanton actually had images from the firefight that took place when the White Hats went in and took over that facility. So, but really, really good information in this one with Patriot Street Fighter. And I won't go any more on that. Watch it. It's a great video. We'll talk about certain elements of what he talked about as we go through some of these videos here. Trump is now preparing the public, right? And this is really the key here, right? Preparing the public for what's about to come down. And let's go through X22 on Friday. Criminal syndicate being shut down. This was actually from Thursday night. USAID was shut down. Money stopped flowing. Bing, fake news, does not want to report the Russian collusion news. It's not going to work, though, because it's all over. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah. They don't want the Epstein files released now, right? Because now, if you haven't been paying attention, right, everybody was like, oh, Trump's on the list. Oh, my God, Trump's covering it up, blah, 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 wah, 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 right? And again, I always, and I've said this to you guys all along for 4 years now, I don't know. I wish I did. I wish I could give you as definitive of an opinion or insight or confirmed intel stating everything that we talk about here, but I don't know. I mean, we come in, we give you videos in some cases that go both sides of the aisle here, especially when it comes to Trump, good Trump, bad Trump, right? Um, Black hat replaced Trump, Trump making Trump's aligned with the Zionists. I mean, there's all types of arguments out there that could support both. Kind of like Sasha Stone. I don't know, a year ago I watched a video with him and Scott McKay, and he was talking about the flat Earth, round Earth phenomenon, right? And he goes, listen, he says, I have talked to experts on both sides, and they're on both sides are able to provide credible data, right? I won't call it science, I'll call it data that would support either argument. So who knows? Point is, when it could have been a master play here, I think, right? Leak it out. Oh, Trump and Musk had a falling out. Oh, Musk says that the big beautiful bill's not a good thing, and oh my God, Trump's on the Epstein list. And all of a sudden, no, pretend like it didn't exist. Why you guys all focus on the Epstein list, right? Everybody goes berserko. And then the Dems come out of the woodwork. We want it. We want it. We got to see it, right? They think there's something there. Or there is something there and they manufactured it while they were in possession of all the files up there in the Southern District of New York, FBI office. I'm sure DA's office or one of the, maybe not DA. What was Comey's daughter part of? Attorney General's office up there in the Southern District of New York. But anyways, so now they're all crying for, oh, we want to see it, we want to see it. Because they knew, probably, I'm speculating here, that they had doctored the information, and it damn sure was going to be some shit in there that was going to implicate Trump and paint him in a bad light. So they start crying for it. Well, Trump goes like, hey, yeah, we're going to go ahead and take the grand jury information when he was first indicted, and we're going to release all that, right? And somebody's here. Mom's home. Mom's home. Mom's home. Go find her. Anyways, okay. Hey, Glenn. Sorry about that, gang. We're going to edit that out anyways. A little bit more work. But anyway, so getting back to like the Epstein file. So when you had that, and nobody did get the maestro. There was only a couple guesses. We've put out the favorite movie, one of the top 5 favorite movies of all time, right? And there was an actor in one of those favorite movies that is famously seen cascading down a flight of stairs. I gave it away that time, but name the favorite movie. So he played them, in my opinion, exactly the way he wanted to play them. Because now you've got them all clamoring to have it released, and he goes after the grand jury, like, okay, I'll release, all the stuff, and they know if they let that out, holy shit! I mean, because that's what led to his arrest in the first place. Not going to be good. Some big names they're talking about could crumble nations. Probably will. And so as he's departing for the UK to meet with the puppet head there of the UK now, I guess based on the follow-up visit for the trade deal that they just struck the day before, As he's getting on Marine One, they bring it up again. And he says, you know what? The hell with it. Just, we're going to release it all. I just played y'all. All right? Big time. We're going to release it all. Now, we were all getting $5,000 rebate checks, and we were going to audit Fort Knox. You know, we were going to release all the files and all the JFK files and all the MLK files, RFK files. You know, so again, take it with bated breath that we're going to see anything anytime soon. But I still go back to Obamagate now. We've ripped that Band-Aid off. We've all talked about it. Let's just rip the Band-Aid, right? First arrest is going to shock the world. I don't know that it's going to be Obama, though. And how about on his, also in that, say, Q&A on the Rose Garden before he left, you know, he actually threw out the fact that Obama has presidential immunity. I think he's trying to play the good guy, right? I think he's going to allow Pam Bondi to take the heat for like bringing, well, you know what? Really doesn't have immunity because he was doing shit after he was president. You only have immunity while you're president, performing presidential duties, right? Isn't that what they said? Trump took it to the Supreme Court, had it ruled upon. That's just so, I mean, it is absolutely, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, right? Because on one hand, we know we've got some serious shit rolling down the pike, right? Going to take place, bad things. But on the flip side, we also know there's a lot of good things happening, and there's a lot of good that's going to come out of all these little good things that are happening. And on the back end of the bad shit we're going to have to deal with, there's going to be some good shit that we're going to, you know, knock on wood, that we make it through, right? So anyways, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's funny how a lot of this shit always takes place on Fridays, right? Trump is playing them at their own game. For years, they would bury shit in the news on Friday afternoon because they know everybody's like getting off work. I just want to go party. I want to go home to see my kids, right? I want to go to the lake. I want to go whatever. I don't want to have to deal with the real world anymore. Friday afternoon. They're not going to be able to shut the news cycle down now because the cat's out of the bag. Everybody was going crazy over the Epstein files. I think that was a distraction initially to then roll out Obamagate. Because you did hear some certain, like MSDNC and others that were talking about the whole Obamagate now being a distraction to distract away from the Epstein files. Again, as we connected the dots last show, when the dominoes, right? When the walls start tumbling down, they're all going to fall. Again, to me, the $64,000 question is that time interval. Right? We've been going down this road ever since Trump came down the escalator. That's been 10 years ago. So, we know all the dominoes will fall. They have to once they start falling. There'll be no stopping them. But will there be, say, obstacles along the way that may delay one for a X period of time? And if so, what is that X factors stand for, right? Give me your thoughts on that as far as timeline, time-wise. I think we're there. We're there. I mean, I'm going to say this. We're there. Now it's just a matter of what is the time elements as everything starts collapsing. How bad does it get? How widespread does that become? How long does that last? Right? So we've got some variables in there. But if you ask me my opinion, Band-Aid's been ripped off. Are they going to be able to control the bleeding? That is the question. Anyways, Charlie Ward on Thursday. Meghan Markle calling out the royal family. Uh-oh. Obama being exposed by Gabbard, right? We know that on Friday. And this was something that he reported on yesterday, stating that he had heard through the grapevine that the internet was going to go down worldwide on July 25th. Well, obviously that did not happen, right? And then they also talked about the no taxes. That seems to be a ever increasing in regularity topic of discussion as in regards to taking down the Fed, eliminating taxes. Again, he's in a hard hat over at the Fed. Gee, you're, $3.1 billion now for this renovation, and you're $700 million over budget. And number one, who the hell's paying for all this? Well, I guess if you have the ability to just print money off these magic computers, whenever you decide that you need more money. When you've got to the scope and the magnitude of this operation, the more and more that I get my arms around everything, which is an impossible task. Who was it, Socrates? The key to knowledge is understanding that you don't know. There's always more to learn. Knowing that you don't know, that is true knowledge. I think it was Socrates. Who was the mentor to who? Was it Socrates to Plato or Plato to Socrates? Give me a comment if you know that. Actually, it's a triple G, because I actually do. Yeah. It just makes you sit back and and I don't know if my light forces that are readily available to me now and in my life, if they're having me have to deal with the little guy in an effort to just keep me balanced, right? It's so I don't go completely unhinged on shit because I've got something right now for me, the wonders of the world out there and all the issues that we have going on, that takes back seat to what I'm dealing with right now. However, I still feel a strong sense of responsibility. And because I'm sitting at home 24/7 taking care of my buddy, he's sleeping 3/4 of the time anyways now. So I guess I have plenty of time to do what I was doing. I was worried that I might not be able to do all the videos. I don't know, boss. I love doing that impersonation. And thank you for all the comments on my 2020. It's not over yet. I throw up my cowboy boots, but I don't have them. I've got flip-flops. I don't know. I'm just having fun, gang. Anyways, let's keep moving on. Getting long-winded. Ben Fulford did his weekly update, right? Good stuff. I mean, redundant at times, kind of like Dave, but on a weekly basis. Dave from X22, that is. But yeah, I mean, still draws a crowd. Jim Willie did one. I picked this up, and it's weird because I went on Jean-Claude's Beyond Mystic page, and it wasn't there. But the content that they were talking about is real time right now, right? So I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, it really was. Um, anyways, he's getting really a bit unhinged, and I don't know if this is just him, like maybe having been in this, what do I call it? Waller in the squalor, as long as he's been doing him much longer than I, but he's really coming unhinged on Trump. It's like, he's not that smart. He's got that Jim Willie pitch to him. I'm smarter than he is. I'm like, okay, Jim, let's think about it. You write a newsletter from someplace in Costa Rica, and you've got, I'm going to say probably a little Costa Rican sweetheart, and that's cool. You do have a doctorate, so give you the kudos for learning how to memorize, I guess. But how can you look at this and go, I'm smarter than Trump? When Trump's doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, multi-billionaire, by all accounts has like some very, very good children that he's raised that are extremely successful in their own right. It just seems like, boom, successful businessman. Yeah, he's been married 3 times. I get it. He declared bankruptcy, I believe, 3 times also. But that's a mechanism that people in business utilize, right? Especially when you're talking about a cyclical type of business, which is real estate that he's been involved in. Then he went on to become a multimedia star, right? The Apprentice and everything he did there. And then he just decided to become president one day. So God bless you, Jim Willie. We love you. We love your reporting. I've been supporting you for a number of years now on your newsletter, even though I just wait for the audio version of it that comes out once a month with House Street. I still support you. So, but I just don't see that you're as smart as Trump. And that's all I'm going to say. It's a good listen. They actually went on, and there's a lot of complex issues that Jean-Claude and Jim Willie discussed. And I think this was an hour and a half, at least, maybe even longer. But I really think that Jean-Claude got a bit maybe on edge with Jim Willie as he was starting to get amped up. But I thought he also handled himself very professionally and was respectful of just what Jim Willie brings to the table. I'm not getting down on Jim. I just think that the comment about, I'm smarter than Trump. Okay. A doctorate doesn't make you smart. Not to say that you're not smart. I think you are extremely smart. However, Trump's president of the United States now 3 times. So let's just leave it there. Health Ranger did an absolute mind-blowing interview with Bill Holter. And if you want to get a real-time, this was maybe 2-3 days ago, tops, view of the entire, say, geopolitical economic picture, Bill Holter gives a very thorough, and he's not just, no, he's talking, they get into the metals, yeah, but we're talking about the actual driving forces behind what's about to take place globally. And, of course, we've been saying this for 1.5 years, 2 years now. It cannot sustain itself. But if you collapse what has been the global reserve currency for the last, since what, end of World War II? 75 years, 80 years now? And you don't have everything in position to be able to step in and just hold the ceiling up that's about to implode, yeah, it could be bad. So I think that's a very logical argument as to why, on the economic front, everything has taken as long as it has. Uh, the vows of those got to go to John Michael Chambers this week. Yeah. Jake Obasi, Derek Johnson, Josh Reed, and Tom Lennox. Tom Lennox, I'm new to. Really don't know the background there, and he really didn't add nearly as much to this conversation as the other guests did. But again, JMC holds especially in the roundtable. And somebody, we talked about having Gene Decode and Cliff High on, and maybe Alice Collier, getting that Woo World type of conversation going. And I threw that out there maybe a month ago, I think. And somebody said, yeah, John Michael Chambers would be a great moderator. This, my friends, is probably the candle in the cake to back up that argument, because he handles this hour and a half to 2 hour interview with all of these individuals and goes through it, and based on individuals, say, background, area of expertise, would lead off with that individual on a number of different topics, and then let the others, kind of give their 2 cents also, talking about Obama's treason, the imminent arrest, the Epstein files misdirection, the financial system reset, go deep into XRP and the CBDCs, the CGI mask, the references to central casting. And in that 2 hour interview that he did with Patriot Street Fighter, it was more Scott coming in with the aspect of central casting versus John Michael Chambers bringing it up. But Scott has that, opinion based on, now he dropped a bombshell here today. I just picked this up. It just clicked into my memory bank. When he goes and talks about the fact that all of these were dealt with, and I hit on this earlier and I didn't finish up my thought, that he knows that they've all been dealt with, and they were all dealt with on a global operation that took place years ago. And the source that he had that shared this with him, whoever this is, right, said that they were all on a conference call with Trump the day of that, and it happened on December 24th, Christmas Eve. And then he goes into the reasoning that it took place on that date. But you cannot fail. That it wasn't like, hey, good luck and come back safe. It was like, you cannot fail. And they had to run this operation, and from the way that he made it sound, it went like clockwork. And then we're into this whole central casting. We're having to see it all play out the way that it needs to play out. I am of the opinion that inside information, intel, if it's accurate and that actually did take place, then that would have been, to me, my opinion, Gray Stanton that provided that intel to him. So we don't know. We haven't seen Gray Stanton, Overwatch, right? For probably going on a year now. Not really sure. Last time that I saw him on with Scott was, I thought, a tad bit maybe disrespectful towards Gray Stanton. Just my opinion. Something that's a year ago. Also talking about the spiritual war and the global purification that we're going through right now. So yeah, the vows. It has to go to that. Juan was on short clip with Nino. I'm gathering, based on other videos that I have watched over the last few days, that Juan was in D.C. He admittedly so, But then we also heard on Alex Jones that Roger Stone was having private meetings in the White House. This on the heels of the bombshells from Tulsi Gabbard earlier in the week. General Flynn was in D.C. So that tells me that you've got a number of players right now that three that I just mentioned that are all part probably of that inner circle, right? Connecting the dots, right? And then it came out, and one gave a very good explanation to it, that it had to be kind of a overt, like, hey, we're sending nukes back to England. Now, those nukes went into Lakenheath, RAF Lakenheath. Okay, it wasn't too far from where I was at. I'm trying to remember, probably about 75 miles, 50 to 75 miles tops. I was at RAF Bentwaters. Lakenheath had the F-111, right? Nuclear armed. They had a QRA just like we had a QRA at Twin Bases, Bentwaters Woodbridge. We had F-4 Phantoms, though. But, I always, kind of sitting back and reflecting on this. I always wonder, because we had 8 birds in the QRA, all nuke loaded, that could, like if the runway got taken out in an attack, the little short, area was about a quarter mile long. They could take off from there, right? If the runway was taken out. 24/7 crews, captain and weapons system officer, WSO, his backseat guy, stationed in the 24 hours at a time. Yeah, kind of cool. But anyways, in the WSA, the weapons storage area, I always wondered, we had probably about 14 shelters. And in those were all the armaments for the entire squadron of F-4s that we had there at the base. I always thought, so I wonder how many nukes are actually in there, right? And of course, that was like a little fortress too, right? I mean, in the WSA, you had 2 foot patrols, you had 2 mobile patrols, you had 6, 8, 10, 12. There were 12 people within maybe a 1 square football field area. Double fence, alarms everywhere. But it was crazy. Anyways, you get a little bit of my background here. CLIF only has blogs right now. Went in. But I'm going to give you one of the blogs that I went in and read it on Substack. It was talking about the religions of the world having a massive shift that's going to take place. Then one of the Woo videos that's coming up, I'll just talk about it now. Similar message. Jason Shurka on with Redacted. I'm going to go into that in a couple of minutes. Kind of a similar message. Scott McKay, Patriot Street Fighter, on with JMC that you'll see tomorrow. He goes way deep into this, right? Talking about the religion was hijacked, right? Spirituality was hijacked in the name of religion. That seems to be a very recurring theme that is coming out significantly. And there's probably going to be a lot of people going to be upset about it. I get it, right? This is where you were raised. This is what you were taught all your life, right? If you're watching me right now, you're further along than a majority of the people that you know. Because I guarantee you this, I know that more than 50% of the people that are in my life within, say, that 2 or 3 degrees of separation, majority of them still don't have an idea what the hell's going on, right? And I'm just some nut job conspiracy theorist and tinfoil hat wearing guy that moved up to the mountains. I had a buddy of mine says, "Hey, you ever going to come out of your bunker?" Not for a while. Crocodile. What was that thing? Fauci and Biden were leaving the White House. And Biden looks at Fauci and says, "See you later, inoculator." And Fauci looks back at Biden and says, "After a while, pedophile." Anyways, Alex Collier, another topic that is popping up, right? Will everybody ascend? I will argue that there have been many that have ascended. You're only seeing their human form still left in the third dimension, right? A spiritual being having a human experience. David Icke is famous for saying that. I heard Scott talk about that. I think he's, Sasha Stone's having a little bit of influence on him, which is cool. I think it's a good thing. Sasha Stone's having influence on me. Scott McKay, why'd I do this? Got to get in the fight. Right? 4 years ago, I decided to get in the fight. Here we go. Redacted, though, is Jason Shurka. Here's one of the things that I picked up on this. Talking about remote viewing, secret CIA programs, MK Ultra. They kind of go down the rabbit hole of how somebody is actually MK Ultra'd. How, especially if they have the capabilities, which we all do, right? On certain levels in different areas, but we all have a divine power that some of us are discovering, others are listening to the mumbo jumbo, right? Trying to figure out, is it real, is it not? I don't know. How could so many people be talking about it? But one of the things that he goes into is talking about as you are like maybe transferring from one dimension to another. And in it, he talked about having a dream, and that when you're dreaming and you're in that like different world, but everything seems so real. It's like you can reach out and touch it, right? It's like that you could just like wake up, and as soon as you wake up, you're like, boom, automatically go back into this dimension that we're in, that I'm talking to you on. And if you remember me talking about this last week, it was the craziest one to date, where it was like everything was so real and so vivid, right? The colors even. And I know that this isn't just the first time. I've been in dreams for probably a year and a half, 2 years now, where I'm like, I know all I got to do is open my eyes, right? That's it. Open your eyes, wake up, and, oh, okay, back into the, boom, here we go. Anyways, I just thought it was interesting because of how recently we've been talking about it. And then David Icke had one. And this goes back into what I just was talking about with Jason Shurka. We all have that divine ability in us, right? You've been listening to the Woo videos with me for a while. Those messages are just really, really good. David Icke goes into it, though, talking about that, knowing that we all have these abilities. It's not like, and if one starts to, say, exercise those abilities and utilize and start, moving into further and further, beyond my home, right? It's not that they're chosen, because nobody's better than anybody, but it's rather they chose to, right? So, ooh, that was deep. The last thing I want to say about that particular video, he made a statement, right, that can now be my new mantra. You do what you can for as long as you can. Right? That comes into dealing with everything that we have going on. That comes dealing with my little guy. He went upstairs. That was Grandma, by the way. She wasn't supposed to be here because she was supposed to have been told I was taping. Anyways, do as much as you can for as long as you can. Think about that. Give me your thoughts on it, right? Then another one that I've been, that's popped up on the radar. Now, this is a guy from Gaia, right? You've seen him on Discovery Channel for years. And he's popped up recently. I featured a video with him. I believe it was Mike Adams, Health Ranger, here maybe a month, 2 months ago. And they popped up on my radar again here the last couple of days. And we talk about these recurring themes, right? Different people that don't know each other from Adam on different platforms that are, in some cases, like with Braden here, right? The guy he's talking to in the two videos, one I put up yesterday and the other one went up, going up tomorrow, follow up tomorrow. Going back, talking about the spiritual hijacking by what we would call modern day religion, which really goes back, to the Old Testament. But again, don't get critical, right? Oh, blasphemy, right? Ask yourself why they took all the books out of the Bible that we now know happened over the centuries. Ask yourself why they only left 66 in. Anyways, they go on in two different sessions for maybe, I'm going to put in an hour and 15 minutes, talking about the religious aspect of the impending disclosure, right? That's coming. That's another thing. Just rip that damn Band-Aid off. Right? How the hell is society going to react? The aliens are here. One of the messages that I'm going to talk about with the Woo videos, and I think what I'm going to do now is because I put up pretty much at least one every day. So that means I'm going to have 3 or 4 every session. But instead of going through each one, unless there's like an absolute crazy message, I'm only going to highlight one of the 3. And I won't tell you which one it is. You'll have to go watch it, 3 or 4. But this one struck me. It was like hit me upside the head with a 2x4, right? Because there's been some things that I've been thinking about recently of what am I going to do, right? This all develops and Band-Aid gets off. It may be rough for 6 months, a year, maybe even 2. I plan on being here, right? Listen to Greg Braden because he talks about how as we evolve and start looking to be all we can be, be all you can be, that has a impact, that it will have an impact on the whole aging process. So yeah, I plan on being here. But when you realize the impact of what we are going to have to go through, you've got to be prepared, right? I'm going to give you, I want to touch on 2 things. Number 1, so over the last few weeks, I've been talking about the uptick in seismic activity, significant uptick in seismic activity. And then we had the two, right, that we talked about here in the last week. I can't remember if it was Sunday or Wednesday. That took place last week in the easternmost tip of Russia in the Aleutians off the coast of Alaska, pretty much along that same line. And I went back and I researched that a little bit yesterday and today. And I drilled down into magnitude and then just that geographic location. And prior to the 1st of July, there was no activity of any note for, I went back like 6 months, right? And then July 1st, they had their first one. I think July 2nd, they had another one. And this is not where the main one happened, but it's actually coming across that band in the Aleutians. And then July 12th, off the coast. July 14th, another one. Then obviously starting on July 20th through about the 24th, they had a series of 290, I think, earthquakes, of which I can't remember what the number was, but I'm going to say 190 of those were 4.5 or greater. And all of them except the 5 I just identified all happened within, say, a 96-hour period of time. Now, since that took place, whereas we witnessed the 30 days ahead of that, nearly 400, probably 380 on average a day worldwide. Now, this is worldwide, right? Whereas the typical day, as we've talked about here recently, 190 to 220, right? I've been tracking it for years. I know the numbers. Little hot spots pop up that we've talked about over the years also. This just happens to be the latest one. However, when we've seen hot spots pop up, it's like, okay, we've got an anomaly that day. It may spike from 230 to like 280. Okay, I got 50 that just popped up. Where are they at? And I'll go drill down and look for them. When you go to 450, 500, and then you average 400 for a period of 30 days, that's not an anomaly. That's all out shit breaking loose everywhere, right? Then all of a sudden, we seen monkey. We talked about this the other day. Bam. All of a sudden, these pop up and go crazy. Now, after about a week, we're right back down to that 220 mark. We have all the trade deals that were just signed. We have Obama being implicated for treason, right? We've got Stephen Greer out there talking about disclosures coming. We have, Congress people now talking about, we want to know this ET bullshit, what's going on, right? We have Jerome Powell looking like, I don't know, the Pope when Trump went and visited him back in 2017 on the capitulation tour, right? Like, it's all coming. And then Trump leaves for the UK and says, you know what? Screw it. The hell with you. Release it all. On the tail of Obamagate, on the tail of the BRICS meeting from a couple weeks ago, right? On the tail of RFK calling out the geoengineering taking place, right? On the tail of Jerome Powell looking like a lost puppy. Real Raw News had a article out earlier today because we know there's multiple clones, right? Scott McKay shared a piece of intel, maybe intel or just something that he was passed on, that there are 10 different Obamas. right? We heard the story that two of them, one went to Guatemala, one went to Mexico last week. Well, now, supposedly, according to Real Raw News, there's 2,500 red hats globally, right, on the hunt for Obama. So, is the Dark Lord still alive? Or, as Scott would have us believe, has he been dealt with? All of them have been dealt with. We're just watching it. And is like, screw it. Let the chips fall where they may. Release the files. Release the, what was that? I don't know. Triple G there. Triple G to close it out. I'd say this. Come Monday. Oh, yeah. Enjoy your weekend. Take a deep breath. Be very cognizant, right? What did I just say about like the forces that be? May have, like now all of a sudden I've got to become a, pretty much 24/7 caregiver to my little guy, right? Between me and my wife. And just, was that my wake-up call to like, okay, there's other shit more important in life, right? Then other things. Now, I still get, me and my wife made a deal. I get to go golf at least twice a week, right? I'll do my shifts, right? But I get to go golf at least twice a week. Yeah. What a time to be alive, right? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Wow. Give me any of your deep felt emotions. Let's see if we can get some people generating some great vibes about what they see coming, right? I see good. I know we're going to deal with hard times, but man, do I see good shit coming down the road. So leave us some, some thought-provoking comments. Engage with one another, right? Your grandkids are going to talk about this time in a way that we probably can't even fathom right now, right? There are going to be some tales that are going to get spun by the campfire, right, underneath the stars, kind of like my American Indian heritage. Yeah. Say a prayer for my little guy. Give me some positive energy. Barring any unforeseen situation, I will be back on Wednesday. Spend time with your loved ones. Say a prayer for your own family, your own well-being. Keep grounded. Go walk barefoot out in the grass, right? Take it in. Enjoy this wonderful, beautiful world that we're part of. But also be cognizant, be prepared. Get your root brands. Telling you. Yeah. Hulk Hogan. Right? I did my Macho Man right there, but him and Hulkster were best friends, right? Yeah, what an icon. I mean, that is probably in our lifetimes one of the most iconic figures in pop culture, right? Yeah, we know wrestling's fake and it's scripted, right? Who's to say the NBA and the NFL isn't? But to do what those guys do, the size that they are, I wouldn't want Hulk clotheslining me. Let's just say that, okay? And we'll leave it at that. Who is John Galt?